This is Farah Nas of Fading Nemesis, and you're listening to the Brutally Delicious Podcast.
One, two, three, four. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast.
There I am. Hello. Hi, guys.
Hey, thanks for joining us. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
So where are you located today? You're
I
kind
am
of
in the Sonoran Desert. I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I know I was looking at the bio and you've kind of been all over the place, right? Texas, Pakistan.
The only place
Okay.
I've been to is Mars yet. We're making our way there. I want to be the first rock and roll concert on Mars. Yeah, I've been
Nice.
everywhere, all over the place.
So we can just jump right in if you want. And I
Let's
know
do it.
Dark was already mentioning Richmond North of Richmond. How did you decide to cover that song?
The thing is, that song I didn't even know existed till my parents called me and said, "There's this guy named Oliver Anthony, and we've seen him. Have you heard of him?" Because he was on an interview. He was everywhere. So I
Yeah.
remember listening to the song and it absolutely touching me, even though it's not my genre, it's not my style, but there was something very real about the way he was performing the song and how he was singing it as the authenticity of the track. And for me, it felt like a song that was so translatable to any sense of exhaustion or conflict happening in my life personally. So we thought, okay, it has absolutely touched the hearts of millions and millions and millions of people. Why don't we capitalize on that and see how would I translate that song if it was mine?
And what has been the response to it so far?
Great. So far, I mean, again, we just released it. So right now it's done well with people. I think a lot of people have, the one comment that keeps coming to me is we would have never listened to the song till we knew it was a heavier version of it. And it caused us to listen to that and then go back to listen to Oliver Anthony's. So it's interesting. It's getting people who aren't in the genre, who would never take the time to listen to it, are listening
Right.
to it. So
So I got to be fair. I'm one of those guys who probably should have given it a chance, but I have never even heard the song except
What?
I've never. I live under a rock. I'm just kind of.
You live in Richmond.
I do live in Richmond, which is
you
even
live in Richmond. Oh, you
I do.
must. You must. Okay. You have to make a promise that you'll listen to that song, just to listen to it, just to say you have heard it.
Yeah, I don't know much about it. I know it took over the media by storm, and
If only to do a comparative study between the Fading Nemesis version and Oliver Anthony. You should do it.
so let's talk about Fading Nemesis. Then, is there something you want your fans to walk away from after listening to a Fading Nemesis single, record, or attending one of your shows?
Yes. I want, what my desire always is and always has been is that they take ownership of the songs. They take ownership of Fading Nemesis, where they walk away and they feel, oh my gosh, this is my music. This is mine to have. Because for me, as I write and as I release songs, they're like babies to me, right? They're in a period of growth, and then once they're delivered into the world, my hope is that song takes a life of its own, and it actually becomes a part of something other than me. And so I think for me, it's really important, and it's really heartfelt, like comforting for me when people say that song spoke to me. That song is in my playlist. Oh my gosh, that song was written for me. Or they walk away and they say, I felt like I really escaped my life tonight. It changed my life. So I think that's really the number one thing, is if I've connected with my audience.
Right. So you're connecting with the audience and you're putting yourself in those songs. But did you ever feel like you're too vulnerable, or you put too much shit in there and said, maybe I went too much, or I did too much?
Well, that's a matter of preference, isn't it? It's like those juice drops you buy at the grocery store. How big of a squirt do you want to put in yours? Mine's a very concentrated.
Fair enough.
I have no problem being vulnerable. Doesn't mean I don't respect my privacy. I am a very private person, but vulnerability to me, it has been the case my entire life, whether I was in kindergarten or now releasing songs on a record. I have no problem being vulnerable. The reason is my number one goal is to communicate a message of hope and freedom to people. Now, it doesn't mean it's all happy. It means the darkness has to come out too. And in order for that to be a balanced message, I have to be vulnerable. And it's dangerous. It feels dangerous.
Yeah, I think, message is there, and I think it definitely helps us get through. Music as a way of helping you get through the shitty times, and especially nowadays with all the shit we're all dealing with, I think that's it's very cathartic as well, right?
It is, absolutely. And you know what, can I tell you something? I mean, we all have been there. Before I started writing my own songs, I know what helped me were other people's songs. When people wrote songs, it got me through moments, and I have to give that back to my people, to my audience, and to the world if I can.
Right. Dark.
Something that the way you're describing your songs is like reminding me of a conversation I had like 10 or so years ago. Curious to get your take on it. My old guitar teacher once said to me, he's not really a metalhead, he's like aware of the genre, but said like, he's talking about like Slayer and death metal, and said at the end of the day, it's all just a different way of expressing a broken heart. Just they choose to like couch it in this like, we're talking about death or destruction or, murdering people, necrophilia, whatever the hell Slayer sings about. So I would say like as a teenager, I don't know if it would make the greatest thing, but like hearing like, hey, it's okay to feel left out. Like you're not the only one. That's not a very common thing in heavier genres. I think it's often more less vulnerable, say. So you were saying you related a lot when people spoke about, sorry, I hope I got this right. Like you related to other people's songs when they spoke of vulnerability?
Yes. So here, I think, absolutely I did. I think the thing is, music is a way to describe the human condition, whether it's happiness, whether it's sorrow, whether it's anger. It is an avenue. It's a very clear avenue. You don't have, it's a universal language. So whatever you sing and say, how you say it, how you sing it, the notes you choose to, use in a progression of a verse can all lead to this very emotional space, whether it's happiness or whether it's sorrow or whether it's relatability or whether it's, it's a powerful tool,
So I guess sorry, Bruce,
No, please go ahead.
So connecting that to the song you just decided to cover. By the way, I tried to listen to it last night. Spotify kept saying cannot play this. I don't know if there's a known issue there.
Spotify has been it's been really shady on this track. It didn't go on when it's on every other platform. Apple, it's on there, but we are looking into it. Spotify tends to do this every once in a while, but it's doing it with this track. So I'll double check that after we get off.
Well, I definitely tried. So the reaction to that one, like Bruce, you said you were like kind of living under a rock here. I mean, it's hilarious to me in the sense that, like, I'd be curious to think, like, what you think he was talking about. I don't know if people took it as, like, a political message. Do you think it's just a guy who's, like, upset and kind of, like, letting it all out?
No, I don't think he expected it to be a political anthem. The thing is, when he actually said it himself, because I had no idea this was going to be the song that would take off. He goes, I just wrote the song, never thinking that this was going to be such an anthem for the country. When I heard it, I thought, okay, how could I write a story through a visual that would be relatable to the millions? Like, who? I'm a woman, I'm a mother. What condition would I need to be in to make that song mine? And how could I translate it? And I think I translated it. I actually put myself in the place of my husband is overseas fighting or has died, and I've got kids and I can't make ends meet. Thus the laundromat. I don't know if you saw the music video on YouTube. You may want to check out the music video, but it was the idea of creating that environment that spoke about the pressurized reality of life,
Interesting.
So you changed the lyrics? I'm sorry, again, I tried to listen.
The lyrics are the same. The lyrics are the same. Yeah, I kept the lyrics. Absolutely kept the lyrics.
Nice. Have you heard from him?
I reached out. I reached out to their people. Not yet. I think he's going through a lot. He just had a baby. I think this has all happened so fast for him. I mean, he released the track August 9th, and he had no idea this was going to do what it did. So right. I think he's quite himself in a place of, wow, is this really happening?
So what's the plans to take Fading Nemesis on the road? I know you said you have you have a family and stuff. It's got to be tough, right? Is that a thing?
The thing is, that's one of the confirmations that I'm supposed to be doing what I'm doing, because it actually works with being able to have a family for me.
Right.
We actually just did a couple of shows. Again, Queen of Blame was released in August, and wanted to start testing out the music. The record is set to be released March 2024, spring 2024. And we did some test shows with Peyton Parrish in August, and had a great response from the audience. So now we're working on setting up spring tour and also festivals, hitting the festival circuit in 2024. So the album release happens, and then we'll be announcing getting on the road, really just touring this album and touring. And we're already almost pretty much halfway done with the second album, and a third one started. So,
Oh, you're kidding. You have that much stuff?
no, we have so much music, and then we're shooting a lot of music videos the rest of the fall and through the winter. So
let me ask you a question then. Are these all songs that were written at once, and then you're just choosing some to put on which record, or are you writing specifically for another release?
No, well, the first album was very organic, because the first album started with me moving back from the UK to the States and having a family tragedy. And I already had been writing. I mean, there's never a time I'm not writing. There's never a time I'm not writing. Now, does it mean I use every song I've written? No. But this first album, the debut album, was definitely a conglomeration of the process of the pain and the trauma and having to move half the world across again. And so the second album is definitely more calculated, because I did want the second album to have a certain stepping stone feeling. People have heard the first album. The second one, I wanted it to go in a different direction.
Hey everyone, this is Tuck from Fit for a King, an off-road minivan. Every week I bring you fun interviews alongside your favorite metalcore entertainers with my new podcast, Get Tucked. Join me every Monday with bands like Counterparts, Crystal Lake, like Moths to Flames, and many more. We play unsigned and undiscovered bands, deep dive into each artist's history, and of course provide the greatest breakdowns in current metalcore. Tune in to Get Tucked every Monday, out now through Sound Talent Media.
But when we sit down to write, I can switch it on and we write. And so, but I'm always writing. So it's a matter of saying, can I throw together a breakfast in the morning? Yeah. Or am I having people over for dinner and I'm going to have a very specific thing I'm going to make? So,
do you spend the time or do you even think about writing a record that's different from the previous one? I mean, because you don't want to write the same songs again,
absolutely.
But you can't step outside of your wheelhouse either, right?
Definitely. The second album, I wanted it to go a bit more, less dark, but heavier, but a little bit more mainstream. I'm exploring, right? Still going to fit into the genre that we're in, not leaving the wheelhouse.
You can't lose your fans because you got to.
No, exactly. And it is what we want to write. It's what I want to write, and so, but being able to change the tonality, changing the pace, is it going to go completely heavy for 12 songs, or is it going to have, so yeah, definitely. We have thought about the second record that way.
And do you guys all write together, or is it more the efforts of you and then?
Yeah, it's me, my producer, and then Jason, who's guitar player. So I come up with my producer and I, and then because the first record, say for instance, it was Larry and I started the record. So 7 songs were written, and then Jason came into the picture. So then Jason was part of the team, songwriting team. We brought in Ben of Nothing More, drummer for Nothing More. He played on the first record. Then after the record finished, that's when we got Chris and Kyle as bass and drummer. So the next record, we brought in Dusty Bowles, who's an amazing songwriter. He is part of the songwriting team. So we bring a lot of different features, but it's not your traditional, let's get together in the rehearsal studio and jam. It's not a jamming. Yeah.
It's more electronic and transfer things back and forth.
It's more really bringing out the best. Like Jason, incredible guitar player. I want to have him sit down with Larry and go, okay, these are the riffs. This is what I like. We're going to do this. And then melodically, then I sit in the back and go, okay, yeah, can that go a little bit darker? Oh, that's fantastic. I can hear 5 melodies. On top of that. So it's more organic that way. I want to make sure that the talents of every person are coming out and they're feeling like they're able to express themselves.
Nice.
Yeah.
Dark.
I'm kind of curious hearing like you sound like I think I'm detecting like optimism in the sense of like you keep writing and you expect to do you're planning on touring next year. I didn't mean expect in a bad way. But you're always writing and you have plans for future albums. Most of the people we talk to say like touring these days sucks.
Sure.
And like maybe we'll release some singles because it's too expensive to do albums. Like this
Right.
this
That's
is
a
refreshing.
great point. Okay. So the question is, why are you so damn optimistic right now?
Yeah.
Is that the question?
Yeah. Or just talk about why you are. Yeah.
Why I am. You know what? I'm an extremely realistic. I'm realistically optimistic. Does that make sense?
Sure.
I do believe that the power of music is in my hands. I think too often bands have relied on record labels, have relied on promoters, have relied on the team in order not to do the work they can do themselves. I'm very old school in the sense that if I want people to show up at a show, I'm going to go have meet and greets and hand out flyers and I'm going to sell the tickets myself. Now, does that mean that I'm going to continue to do that if I have a show with 500,000 people or 10,000 people? Well, yeah, probably, because that's in my nature. I'm a very organic and very tactile human being. And I will always be the person that will take the time to do things that way. Humans respond. If we had a meet and greet about 5 weeks ago at a Gothic clothing store. Oh my gosh, we sold so many tickets to a show that got canceled because postponed because we were touring with Saving Abel. They postponed their tour. Mm-hmm. But it was so incredible. People actually spent time with us. We sat and it was, so I am optimistic. Humans do respond to human touch and human time, and so in that sense, yeah, I am optimistic that when I'm out there with the audience, when I'm on stage, I will make eye-to-eye contact. I will have meet and greets. When we were with Peyton Parrish, the shows we did, our meet and greets were 4 hours each. We did House of Blues in Houston, and we played the Echo Lounge in Dallas. And there were about 1,100 people at the shows. Mm-hmm. We spent 4 hours after our set, 4.5 hours at the House of Blues, just meeting people. Wow. Well, yeah, people just forget it is about the human touch, and our increase in Spotify and YouTube watching, it happened. It's not just by chance. We can't lose the human touch.
Right. That's beautiful and super organic.
Yeah.
When you said meet and greet, I was thinking going like, really big league here. Kiss charges like $5,000 to get like 10 seconds in a photo. You mean like you're actually just being a good human with your fans and like saying,
exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
There's a joke here, like $5,000 for 90 seconds. Like, the last 2 times I was in Vegas, maybe, but like that's great. I mean, so that human element, like, did you pick? Is that just you? Did you grab that from other artists you admired?
Oh, it's just very much me. Yeah, I it's very important to me. Like if I have a team, I can't just keep doing phone meetings. Like I have a whole team. My branding manager lives in California. I've got Dusty who lives in Colorado. If we don't have time together, face to face, we are breaking bread together, we're drinking together, we're making tea together. I'm very much a face to face tactile person. And I've always been that way. And technology doesn't seem to be taking that away from me, which is good. I think because
I think a lot of people let the technology take a lot of that away.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or charge a bundle of money, like Dark just said.
Yeah, exactly.
I get it's tough on the road, but.
And my hope is, and I know I'll stay true to this because I'm doing everything in my power to keep it about my audience and about the connection with my audience, that no matter how big this grows, that I will stay true to what I have made a decision to do. And I love doing it because you get back from that process too. When you don't even, I mean, it feels amazing when someone comes up to you and they shake your hand and they go, that song, it's actually carried me through the last month. I wouldn't know what to do. Yesterday, someone just told me that the singles we've released have been a staple of their lives because they're fighting stage 4 cancer and they wouldn't know what to do without the songs. That matters. That means something,
Right.
It counts.
Do you feel a sort of responsibility then to your fans?
Absolutely. It is what drives me. It is my role. It is my responsibility. It's my privilege. It's my honor, but it's also my responsibility. Absolutely.
All right. Dark, what else you got?
I guess just, take this any way you want. Like, you have that hugely personal touch. You're willing to meet everybody. You're also a woman in a male dominated genre generally. Does that ever get weird with the meet and greets?
It does. I always have security. At first, when I first started, I didn't quite know what to do with it, but it doesn't faze me because I'm pretty ballsy. I'm pretty I can make a guy feel I can put them in their place pretty quickly because I know my boundaries, and I also know my strength, and I'm confident in the sense that I know that I know myself, but I just have security around me at all times, and so if I give a cue that I'm not feeling safe or I'm not feeling good, then immediately there's a cue. Like when we were out with Peyton in August, it happened a couple of times, but all I have to do is just look, and the guys will come in, and so I just have some precautions set up. So, and that's just wise,
Yeah, absolutely.
Wisdom. So,
is that I don't know. I like to think metal fans tend to be more accepting and kind than people.
They are.
Yeah.
They are definitely so. I mean, I think if I was in a different genre, I think my worries would be different. I mean, like with Peyton, the shows that we did with Peyton, so many Vikings. Oh my gosh, so many Vikings at the shows, and they were the most incredible human beings, women and men and children. I mean, it's like a whole, tribes from Norway coming into the show. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Nice.
We're usually very.
Sorry.
People are usually kinder than you think.
Oh yeah, I agree. Especially I think, like Dark said, in the heavier music world.
The heavier genres, absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's going to bring me to the end of my questions. Then, I guess if fans want to find you, can you give us all your socials and that sort of thing?
Go to our website, fadingnemesisofficial.com, on Instagram, Facebook. Just look up Fading Nemesis. It's very simple. Follow us. All of the announcements for the shows coming up and the album drop in 2024 will be on there. Go to YouTube. We are putting out shorts and releasing music videos regularly. Subscribe. And honestly, we couldn't do any of this without our audience. So you can find us pretty much on all streaming platforms.
Awesome. Thank you so much for everything. That was a great conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. Seriously. And
go
check out that Oliver Anthony video.
I'm gonna go do that for sure. I feel like I'm the last one in the world that hasn't heard it.
Dark, you go check it out on YouTube too. Our Fading.
Oh, I want to. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Ever wonder what a punch from Elton John feels like?
Or how you'd cope with having turned down the chance to be in Nirvana?
Or what signal Keith Richards gives when he wants you to get the hell out of his hotel room?
Fans of Too Much Effing Perspective don't have to wonder, because they've heard these exact stories and a jillion others on our podcast. I'm Alex Hoffman, former tour manager for Radiohead.
And I'm musician and comedy writer Alan Keller. On the TMEP show, we get guests like Nancy Wilson from Heart, Jeremiah Freites from the Lumineers, and Modern Family's Julie Bowen to tell us things they may have only shared with their therapist, clergy, or a TMZ stringer.
So join us on Too Much Effing Perspective. That's EFFING Perspective. The only podcast you crank up to 11.